Right, we've got a STIHL BR350 here. I've got a brand new carburetor for it. Look at that. Look at that. Look at the quality of that. Absolutely fantastic. Comes with a new fuel filter, gaskets, fuel line. Absolutely brilliant. 2 new primer bulbs. And these primer bulbs, I've never seen these before. They're actually spring loaded. Look at that. That's fantastic, that is. So I'm going to get this all plumbed in and see if it runs any better. It's bogging down. You've got to let it warm up for about 5 minutes before it even works properly. And then about 10 minutes into it, it starts to bog out. It still runs, but again, I want this running perfectly because I don't want a you know, I don't want this season to be struggling, so I just want this running up to spec. Like I say, it even comes with a little spark plug. Look, I think the spark plug's pretty much brand new on this, so I'm going to get the carburetor swapped out and we'll see how it's running. Right, so that's the pull cord off it. Look at this machine. Look at that old carb, mate. That's all dutted up. Look at that. Absolutely brilliant. It's going to do it some good, if not anything else. Do you know what I mean? So that's fantastic. So like I say, it's all assembled now. I've got that off. I've just got to take the air filter box off now and the actual housing itself, so I've got proper access to the carburetor, but we're getting there. That's what I can't understand. It's supposed to have been serviced, and this is an airbox, so they've just slapped a new air filter straight in that. You'd think they'd wipe everything down just to try and stop any cross-contamination, but there we are at the minute, and I think it's just a couple of bolts just to get that off, just to get to the carburetor, so we'll have a nosy at that. It also looks like to me, whoever's had this apart before has forgot to put the secondary bolt back on that bit there. There only seems to be one bolt I need to take off, so we'll have a nosy at this. I don't know if I've got anything kicking about that'd fit that, I'm not too sure. I'll have a nosy. Yeah, that was just finger tight. It came off with a few rotations, so I think this is all held together with hopes and dreams. Right, I've got it all disassembled and we've got to the carb, so that's loose there. So obviously we've just got to take the fuel lines off now. So as I've seen, make sure you take the cap off. Stops fuel from just pissing everywhere. And then obviously you simply just take the lines off, and it should just be a case of a straight swap to the new carburetor. So we'll get this off and see if it's the right fit. Right, that's the old carburetor off. So I'm just going to give this a good spray with some brake cleaner, see if we can get it cleaned up, and I'll try and assemble the new unit. Right, so that's the new carburetor assembled. I've got the throttle body cable back on, so that's fantastic. So it's just a case of cleaning that up, getting it all assembled, and see if it runs. I doubt it. I've already put the carburetor on backwards once, so we'll see how this works, get it all plumbed back together, and we'll see if we can get it started. Right, I've given these covers a good wipe down, some brake cleaner as well. That's all assembled. Unfortunately, a lot of the old plastics have broken from previous, so it's not fitting perfect, but as long as the carb's in situ, which it is, it shouldn't be causing any problems. So I'm just going to reassemble this, get all this back together. I might clean this a little bit as well, and then we'll get a test run, see if it runs. Out of everything so far, getting that one little bolt in has been an absolute nightmare. It kept flipping over and all sorts, but that's nice and secure now, so it's just a case of getting the airbox on and giving it a start. Right, so I've just had to strip it all down again because for some reason the primer bubble wasn't filling with fuel. So I've put a new primer bulb on. It's now filling with fuel, but it wasn't filling with fuel when I had this component on here. So whatever this is, or whatever this was doing, it might have been pinching something and not allowing fuel through. So I'm going to try and put this on carefully and see if it carries on working, basically alleviates the issue. I've took that off. Primer bulb fills beautifully, so that's all working there. Brilliant. Got all the lines on properly, the new carburetor's in situ, so it's just a case of, yeah, just keep playing with it until it works. So we've got the STIHL BR350 here. I thought I was pinching fuel lines, which I probably was, because the primer bulb's filling up considerably more than what it was. But then I've looked at this HT lead, looked at this, thought, right, it might be perforating and it might be arcing. But through secondary inspection, that's just literally a cover just to rub. So that's fantastic, it's done its job. So I'll put that back in situ there. It's literally, I believe it's this at the top. Now there's a little wire on top of the HT lead, and that needs to clip into there, and this is just frayed and damaged. So I think ultimately I'm going to try and bastardize it together now, but if I can get a new HT lead, Kawasaki green, do you know what I mean? It'd be wicked if I could. That'll basically alleviate the problem. So all I need now is a new HT lead, and then that should be bang on. But I'm going to try and get it all plumbed back in together and see if we can get it running for now, because I was definitely pinching some kind of fuel line. You see the primer bulb there? It's a lot more than what it was. So I'm going to have a nosy at this and see if we can sort something out for it. Right, so we've got a STIHL BR350 here. I'm going to try and fire it up at a minute. I've put a new carburetor on it. When I was putting this plastic housing back on, it was pinching a fuel line down there. So I've actually moved them around now. I don't think you can quite see them, but I've sorted that out. So let's see if we can get this fired up. Also, the HT lead is dead fiddly. It's like held on by literally like a little wire, and you've got to like hook it onto a piece of metal onto this rubber bit. So I'm thinking about getting a new one. So hopefully, if that's all plumbed up right, this is all plumbed up right, we're good to go. Right, so it fires up. Probably going to need to adjust the carb now, but yeah, it all plumbs up. It's all plumbed up, it's all working.